In the year 1917, the Russian Empire stood on the edge of collapse. The First World War had drained the nation's strength, leaving millions dead and entire cities in ruin. Hunger swept across the countryside, factories stopped, and soldiers no longer believed in the cause. The old world, the world of czars and empires, was disintegrating. Yet, there was no clear vision of what would replace it. Russia was suspended in a void, a liminal moment in history where anything seemed possible and everything felt dangerous. The monarchy was dying, and in its place, chaos brewed. From the ashes, something new was destined to emerge. But what form would it take? That question would soon be answered, not by armies or kings, but by ideas, ambition, and one man stepping off a train. Tsar Nicholas II came to power burdened by a legacy of absolutism. He ruled the largest country on earth, but failed to understand its people. After witnessing the violent death of his grandfather, Alexander II, Nicholas grew paranoid and resistant to reform. His reign began with tragedy, a coronation stampede that killed over 1,000 citizens. Yet, he danced that night as if nothing had happened. He ignored industrial unrest, political protests, and hunger in the countryside. His trust lay with mystics and generals, not advisors or the people. As the empire decayed, Nicholas clung to outdated ideals, believing divine right would save him. But in February 1917, even the divine turned away. Surrounded by soldiers who no longer followed orders, Nicholas abdicated, ending 3 centuries of Romanov rule with a reluctant, lonely signature. The abdication of the Tsar sparked brief euphoria. A provisional government rose, promising democracy, freedom, and peace. Civil liberties were restored. Political prisoners were freed. Newspapers printed bold headlines proclaiming a new Russia. But beneath the optimism, there was disarray. The government had no mandate, no army loyalty, and no clear plan. Leaders debated while cities starved. Soldiers abandoned the front. Peasants seized land. The provisional government tried to be both revolutionary and orderly, both radical and moderate. It was paralyzed by compromise. In the background, the Soviets, the workers' councils gained influence. 2 Russias were forming in one land, like tectonic plates grinding toward eruption. Without unity, freedom can feel empty. And soon, a storm would come to fill the vacuum. In exile, Lenin watched Russia tremble. In Switzerland, he wrote and waited until Germany gave him a gift. Seeing Russia's collapse as a chance to weaken their enemy, the German High Command placed Lenin on a sealed train and sent him east. When he stepped onto Russian soil, he didn't just carry luggage, he carried a plan. In his April theses, he called for peace, land, bread, and the end of the provisional government. His words electrified the masses. Factories buzzed with his slogans. Soldiers questioned their orders. Lenin didn't merely criticize, he offered an alternative. His vision was absolute. No compromise, no delay, no return. It was the spark in a powder keg, and by October, the explosion would engulf the entire nation. But imagine a different reality. What if the train never arrived? What if Lenin remained in Switzerland unheard, unread, forgotten? The chaos in Russia would still boil, but without the guiding fire of Lenin's vision. There would be no April theses, no unified radical message. The Bolsheviks, already divided and uncertain, would drift. The momentum of revolution would stall. In this world, Russia stands at a crossroads with no one bold enough to force a direction. This is the alternate path. A Russia without Lenin, without October, without the hammer, striking history's anvil. A timeline where the world's greatest experiment in revolution is never launched. And yet, the questions remain. Who would fill the void? Without Lenin, the Bolsheviks were not the force we remember. They were just one of many parties, scattered, arguing, unsure. Some sought compromise with the government. Others clung to dogma without clarity. No powerful voice unified them. No vision reached the factories or trenches. The Soviets hesitated. Power slipped through their fingers like sand. Without Lenin's strategy, the revolutionary tide lost direction. Protest became discontent, not change. In his absence, the streets cooled. The slogans faded, and the chance to seize the moment was lost. History rarely gives second chances. The window closed slowly, but firmly, and the revolution that might have been became a whisper in the wind. In this alternate timeline, there is no October coup. Instead, there is cooperation. Faced with war, famine, and political collapse, moderate socialists and reformists choose pragmatism. The Soviets and the Provisional Government, once rivals, merge into a fragile alliance. It is not easy. Ideologies clash, tempers flare, but unity proves stronger than division. A parliament forms. Land reforms begin. The war winds down through negotiated peace. The Red Terror never happens. The Cheka is never formed. In place of bloodshed, there is compromise. It is slower, messier, but it saves lives. And in time, Russia begins to resemble something new, not a utopia, but a republic born of resilience, not revolution. In our world, civil war ripped Russia apart. White fought red, brother against brother. Cities burned. Millions died. But in this alternate reality, there is no such war. The people, exhausted by years of suffering, accept slow progress over sudden rupture. The army demobilizes. The peasants till the land. The workers rebuild the cities. Russia, fractured but not shattered, begins to heal. There are still struggles, political chaos, famine, uprisings, but they do not consume the nation. The horror of 1918 to 1922 never comes. And while the world watches for blood, Russia defies expectations with an uneasy peace. Sometimes, survival is more radical than revolution. Without the Bolshevik victory, the Soviet Union is never born. There is no hammer and sickle over Moscow, no five-year plans, no Stalin. Eastern Europe remains a patchwork of nations, not satellite states. The Cold War never happens. Nuclear brinkmanship is delayed. The arms race takes another shape. The world becomes no utopia, but it changes. China's revolution may still come, but without a Soviet model. Cuba may resist, but with different backers. The dominoes fall in new directions. Capitalism spreads, but so does democracy. The 20th century, without Lenin's revolution, still turbulent, but less soaked in red. A quieter history, still uncertain, but with different scars. One man, one sealed train, one country on the edge of collapse. Lenin's arrival changed everything. His absence could have changed just as much, but in a different direction. This isn't just a story about communism or Russia. It's about the weight of ideas and the power of timing. Sometimes, history turns on a whisper, a signature, a pamphlet, a delayed train. What if that train never came? What kind of Russia would have emerged? And what kind of world would we now live in? The future may always be uncertain, but the past holds infinite possibilities. Would you have boarded that train?